Now we're live. Yay! So we are back, standing tall, and I'm so grateful to have a new friend here joining us tonight. And I'm going to just let everybody know a little bit about April, and then we have some awesome news that I want to share with everybody. But first, April Panknin, you guys, if you don't know April, you have to know her and you have to meet her. I had the absolute pleasure of meeting this woman about a year and a half ago, and she has impacted me in so many ways on such a deep level. And this woman is an amazing coach and cuddle coach and focuses on the dynamic of the importance of connection and touch and just so many beautiful things. So April, I'm grateful you're here. Thank you for joining us. Anything you want to share with the audience before we keep going?
No, I mean, I'm just happy to be here and, getting over fears of being live on computer time and time again. So here we are again. And this time I want to have fun and be able to be myself. So
Yay!
I'm excited, to share So
Yay.
Thank you.
Yes.
For inviting me.
Of course. Thank you for being here.
I think we're all getting over our fears of being live time and time again, too.
Totally true. April, you should know, the viewers know my experience with getting over this thing of live that I made big and scary for all too long. Hi, Dorothy. Thanks for joining us. Jairus, always good. Thank you for being here.
Fun. That's so fun that it pops up so big like that. It's not like Facebook Live where you can't see it and you're like, who's that? Who is that?
Well, I think Jen has to click on the comments, so she's got to look at it first and then play with it.
Oh, okay.
I'll keep playing with it. Okay, big news before we get into our topic. You guys, we have someone here tonight who is only a couple weeks out from her book launch. And for the last year, she has been working on writing and delving in. And just earlier today, I heard news that it's going to be official, like the second week of July, that it will be in purchase. And congratulations, Dr. Christie. We are so excited for you. And do you want to give a little snippet of your book and what's coming for everybody?
Way to blindside me with that.
You're welcome. It is real. If I would have warned you, come on.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, I am all sorts of emotions. Excitement is one of them. And it's probably only 3-ish weeks away. So for anybody who's watching that does not know, the book is for the newly postpartum mom, especially when she's going through a tumultuous time, trying to figure out who she is, how to navigate this new point in her life, figure out how her hormones are impacting her body, and how it's sometimes a really rough and uncertain time. And so I try to help support that person through whatever they're going through at that time, and then also give insights into how to keep this new little human being that you're now responsible for healthy in the first year or so of life. So that is the topic. And ultimately, the goal was to have this be the first in a series of many. But let's just get the first one out first and go from there. So thank you.
I'm very excited that this is the first in the series of many.
That is the plan. Yes. One thing at a time.
Congratulations, Christy.
Thank
you. So
you.
excited for you.
Thanks.
You're welcome. And
thank you, Dorothy.
Yay.
Yeah. So I also, like a week later after that, Christy, my book is coming out. So
Yay! April, tell us more, please.
It's called, let me look really quick. How do I get this down? I can never remember the title. It's Thriving Beyond Crisis, Resilient Entrepreneurs, or something like that.
That's awesome. Do you know what chapter you are?
I don't. We haven't gotten that information yet. I just, sent the final copy like 5 days ago. And boy, oh boy, am I glad that's over. It was so, it all kinds of body sensations, not even thinking about it, knowing that it was like the time that it was going to be out there. So,
Yay,
Congrats.
I don't know if you want me to share what it's about, but if we have time. Okay. So yeah, it's about sexual shame, and I talk about an abortion at 18 and how that impacted my life, and how some other sexual experiences when I was younger impacted all of the decisions in my life and my relationships with men mainly. So, and my journey through that, starting from the time that my son was born. So, and it just talks about briefly the journey, and it's amazing, and I'm nervous, and it's okay. So I'm not really great at, this is why I said it, because I knew that I was going to be nervous about it, and I wanted to just get it out there. So thanks for letting me share, and I'll get better at that.
April, I just acknowledge you because it was beautiful, and I want to hear more. I have so many questions. And I would assert that our viewers actually have a lot of questions on the topic, and we're going to be coming back to that to talk more. Can you, so that we can put it in the comments, can you get me the link of like where they can find it later when they can find it and such?
Yes.
Thank you. Cool.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, we have Carl joining us. Hi, Carl.
Hello, Carl.
Thanks for joining us. All right, so topic for tonight, and really as both of you talk about your books coming out and all the information, I think it's the perfect lead in to the first topic of the night, which is human connection and the importance of human connection. And from my perspective, the importance of human connection from a very young age. And not just human connection, but human community and having support systems around us. So who wants to start on your perspectives on that piece?
I think Jen should start.
Okay. So I can do that. Okay. Guys, I and April and Christy, you know, part of this, some of our viewers know it as well, but quite respectfully, there was a large decades of my life that I didn't feel like I had the human connection. I had surface friends. I had people I could talk to, but no one that I ever really went deep with. And in addition to that, it left a hole, I would say, of sorts that made me feel like there were things I had to reserve about myself, and there were things I had to hide. And as I've unlocked and uncovered the last 8 years, and especially the last 3 years, and I've really brought people into my world that I can just trust and be open with and authentic with and actually share the shit going on without holding back. It's filled so many gaps. And I can tell you that health-wise, it's impacted me in so many ways, but I just look at the main ones for me, and it's honestly given me a level of normalization and trust about myself that I don't think I had before, because there were honestly parts of me in the lack of normalization of, wow, this is like what people actually talk about, that I think people lose sight of, that I think that we just say, okay, it's normal to be going through this shit. And if we talk about it, and if we're open about it, and if we have other people that we can lean on, not drama, not just complaining about it, but actually saying, yeah, gosh, I have that going on too. And how can we work through it? It fills holes. Like I definitely, and you, I mean, the audience even knows all the work that I've done to let go of the emotional scars and the anxiety pieces. But I really strongly say that without the connection piece, I wouldn't be as far as I am right now, because I would still have a hole that's missing. And as I dial that all the way back and I look to the people that I coach, it's often something that I don't think we teach people, of just how to have basic conversations and how to just be open with, here's who I am and here's who you are. And it's okay if we're different. And it's okay for you to have an opinion and me to have a different one. And we're both right. And we're both can honor that. So yeah, it's impacted my health. It's impacted, like, I'm grateful to say that the anxiousness I feel is so a lot less than it's ever been in my whole life. And I legitimately have people that I can count on to go to now when I have shit to talk about. Like, wow. So that's my 2 cents to start.
Well, yeah, I have like a million things going through my head.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh my gosh, I can see how this is going to be so fun. Like, bing, 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 bing. Connections all over the place, right? So, I mean, that's my story. I mean, connection is my story, you know. I guess if I say the story, I'm going to be kind of giving away the book. So I don't know how that works, but you know, I disconnected, and what that looked like in my life was me fighting everybody else, you know, and fighting what I thought was bad, you know. And so for me, it was like carrying that shame had me just disconnect from everybody. And in order to like shut myself off to people, I had to be looking the other way, fighting something that I was making up, you know. So I made up that, you know, the medical system is horrible, and you know, and I'm seeing it a little differently now, even though, you know, I still have the same sentiments, but I don't see it as evil anymore. You know, everything serves a purpose. And so what I found, the harder I was fighting, the more disconnected I was getting. And that's why cuddling just fell in my lap perfectly and was exactly what I needed at that time to be able to step into myself. And it was through cuddling and me opening myself up to other people to be cuddle, you know, to be able to cuddle a stranger, but then also the opening up of them, you know, it's just this opening up effect. So anytime we're physically intimate and close, you know, we're just adding an extra layer of openness inside of any relationship, and energetically too. So that's ultimately what brought me back, is literal physical connection. And it's been amazing, because I found myself on the journey with being physically connected again. So I could say a lot, but I don't want to over talk, and I want to give everybody a turn. So
you're not over talking. It's beautiful. How else has it impacted you?
The cuddling.
Mm-hmm. Well, just human connection, cuddling.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the minute I started cuddling, I literally realized there was a whole world out there. Like, I had literally just put myself in this little box. I mean, actually, I was just describing it to somebody yesterday. It was like I made a safe, you know, like we recreate like a safe. And then we get in the safe with all of our stuff. You know, I had all my stuff that I want to get rid of. And I was like, you know, thinking I was going to die if I spent any money, you know, because all of that stuff. And I put myself in a safe and I locked myself in it. And I was just disconnected from everybody. And I forgot your question, but that image was so strong from today, I had to share it. I didn't see any of it. You know, yeah. I didn't see any of it around, because I'm sitting in this safe, holding on to all my stuff in my shame, and I just didn't see any of it. And then when I started physically being connected with people again, and I started just hugging more people in general too, because instinctively I knew that's what I needed, because I literally didn't date for 7 years. Mm. So, and I isolated myself with my kids. So I was really physically, and it just like a firecracker, it just opened me right up. And it's just been like ever since. So.
Awesome. We have questions for you, April. How many cuddles did it take? So hi, Anna. Thank you for joining us.
How many cuddles did it take? That's a good question.
And I love cuddles.
It was a lot, because the cuddling actually brought me through, you know, uncovering all of my shame and the work that I've done, you know, with Landmark, but just uncovering everything. So it put me, so when we're in communication, I'm in another program that's based on communication distinctions. When we're in communication, everything can be solved within communication. But if we're not in communication, then all we have is our own stories. And I can't, she said, how many cuddles? Let me focus. How many cuddles? It's really hard to say, because I screwed up a lot along the way. Screwed up, right? I mean, I I went through what I went through, but you could look back and go, ooh, I don't know about that. But that's how we learn. So a lot of cuddles to get me really where I'm feeling really free and owning myself and being really clear with boundaries. You know, that was a whole journey through it, which was a part of my shame, you know, so a lot.
Would you, I would assert that you learned something every step along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Every client, every client along the way, learn more about what connection looks like to other people and how, how things can get so confusing and how you can be on two totally different pages and be listening to the same words. Yeah.
Agreed. All right, Christy.
Yeah, going third, and that was, I have no idea where I can start now.
Start wherever feels right.
In all honesty, a lot of what both of you said is bringing up a lot for me, because just as both of you know, and not everybody knows, I'll air some of my stuff out publicly now, though. The last week or so especially has been very telling for me, just in how guarded I've been in my whole life, even in my close relationships, because apparently I've been a really, really good, like at a very young age, from some trauma and bullying and stuff like that from a young age. I learned how to engage with other people and form good friendships without actually giving all of myself completely. And that's really crappy. And I don't like it. And I'm ready to move on past it. And so it's been a lot of uncovering for me in the last week, trying to navigate and figure all that out, because I've even been guarded with my husband. And if I dial everything back and I look at it, is it huge? No, I'm still being authentic, and I love and care about the people that are in my life. But if I really look deeply enough, it's like, it's all in protection. It's all in however we need to try and keep ourselves safe. And so I don't know where I'm going with this now, but I think my point was, in that sense of connection, you're both absolutely right. We need that connection to grow, to heal, to feel like we're not alone in this whole process of life, right? And that's part one. Part two, April especially, I love everything that you've learned from the cuddling aspect, and what that brought up for me especially is, and I don't know if Annie's out there watching right now, but I know on LinkedIn today she did a little post on love languages, which I think is incredibly important to learn, you know, especially with who we're connecting with, whether romantically or friendship wise or whatever the relationship may look like. Whoever or whatever their love language is determines how they best want to feel connected to somebody. And it's always I always find that aspect really interesting. Because I think even Jen, I know we've talked about it in the past, like even in a relationship of like employer to employee, knowing their love language, or for me, for my patients, like knowing how they best feel connected and how they best feel loved is going to be really instrumental in the impact that we can make on whoever we're working with, in whatever relationship, whatever capacity that looks like. So those are my 2 cents right now. Like I said, all over the place. No idea what question I'm answering anymore, but that's all that was running through my head in the last 10 minutes.
That's nothing really new for our show, Christy. We're all good with all over the place. So I want to come back to a couple things. But first I want to, and I can't stress this enough, and Christy, with what you mentioned, like, guys, it's giving ourselves grace to say, we're all learning along the way. And there's things that we probably made a muck of that we just didn't know at the time, you know, and then we learn and then we do differently. But I think that progress, not perfection, and giving ourselves grace along the way to say, okay, well, I did that. I can't change it. Let me not shame myself or cause myself any kind of other additional harm, which I know can also not be, it can be easy to, I don't want to say it can be easy to shame ourselves, but I did it for years, even with Bo, like things that I thought I should have done differently as a mom. And I thought I should have been better, whatever that meant. Anyway,
Yes.
so
I love that 100%. Part of why I wrote the book that I did is because, just like you said, with, we put so much pressure on ourselves as parents, we put so much pressure on ourselves as humans, as women, or whatever category, whatever roles we put ourselves into. And it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And in the spirit of the community, it's that same idea, like, especially just from the motherhood standpoint, like you mentioned, I feel like we used to have a village of support, and now we have a village of judgment.
Yeah.
Everywhere you come from, it's like we're mom shaming this, we're shaming this, and it's just it's all over the place. And I don't know about you guys, I suffer from perfectionism, and so I'm judging myself enough, let alone whatever's happening on the outside world. So once again, to the point of like why we're here right now is connecting with people at the deepest level possible so that we can not feel alone, and we can, make, fill those holes like you said earlier.
Yeah. Yes. And you brought up more questions that have me stirring. I want to mention on the love language piece. I can tell you probably 2 years ago, year and a half ago now. And I didn't really pay attention to my love language, but when I took the quiz and realized, oh yeah, that's definitely me. But more so than that, when I had my son take it and my husband take it, and then the whole family take it at Christmas, it changed my dynamic of how I treat everybody in my life. And even to know like, oh shit, Jen, your husband needs time. He doesn't need affirmation or gifts. And just to your point of just knowing that we may not have recognized before, even after all the years, just it's increased the depth of who we are in our relationship. And Joel and I have been together 22 years, so we've seen a lot in 22 years. But in the last couple of just knowing that, it's allowed both of us to understand each other differently. And we openly talk about it. Like he'll say, I know you need affirmation right now. He'll give it to me because we honor who we are. And I think that that's where we come back to the very beginning, is just knowing who each other is in our relationships and honoring who they're at and where they're at, to me, is still a basic fundamental of connection.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And what I heard in that, Jen, to take a step even further is like, my kind of vision is, when you take the love language test, it's like telling the other person what they like, like why in relationships aren't we telling the people, like, when you said this, I really loved it. Like, I would really love it if you say that to me more. Or, I really enjoyed spending time with you. And wow, I miss it. Could we do that again? I'm really missing your time. Right?
Yes. Talking, basic communication.
Like saying what's really there.
Yeah. Let's stay on that. Yeah, let's stay on that for a minute, because I can tell you for me, admittedly, in my decades, and yes, I've always been very external, communicative, but internally I judged myself a lot, self-deprecated myself horribly, caused myself an intense amount of anxiety. But externally, I thought I was putting on a great face. But to that point, there were things that all of that internal stuff was because I wasn't honoring my voice, and I wasn't honoring what I really wanted to say, or what I really felt, or what I really thought. And the first thing that I come back to, of course, is number one, alignment of just actually knowing who we are and what we want and staying in that. But I'd really love both of your perspectives on, we all know, April, I don't think I shared with you, but our cause for this show is to really teach it forward and help anyone watching, like if they're going through any of these things, to have the support and the tools and the knowledge that they can take the nuggets away. So for our viewers and for ourselves in the interim, what tips can we give to step into that and release the doubt and release the criticism, and just be okay saying that hard thing, even if it's uncomfortable at first? Don't both go at once. I mean,
I still question in that.
So,
what was the question?
question in that is, what tips can we give our viewers of how to let some of that doubt and criticism go and just take the small steps to be open with communication?
Yeah.
And
So
how
I do have, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're fine, please.
So something that I like to reflect on is like when we are making any decision, like if, for me, it was like when a guy would ask me a question, and I'd be fearful to ask him a question back about something personal, like, which is ridiculous, right? Like, oh, well, he might get upset because I'm asking him if he was married before, something really simple like that. And now when I look at it, I go, if I would have just stopped and said, why am I not asking him? Oh, I'm scared. Does that make sense? What am I scared of? And what are my reasons for not doing it? I mean, obviously, if we're going to call somebody and we know that they're going to verbally assault us, that's different in the action that we're going to take. But if we have all of these reasons, then we know fear is behind it. And then we can start to take a look at what's there. So, for me, and being graceful with ourselves, right? It's like, so maybe in that moment, we don't say it. And then, but we recognize, oh, there's the fear I'm afraid of, and just taking a look. What am I afraid of? Like, what's there for me? And in that moment, like, really, what's that thing that has me that says I can't ask this question, or I can't do this thing, I can't make this request. And I just never knew that it was any other way in my mind. I just thought that's the way that it was. So really, it's the simple question, like, oh, well, why is it that way? Literally questioning everything. Why is it the way it is? For me, for the people in my life. So that's what I have on that.
I love it. Christy?
Yeah. The only other thing I can add on that is everything April said. And first off, no one's ever done. So
yeah,
it's all part of the journey. It's all in healing. And remind me the question again, tips of what?
So tips of how people can open up their communication and just honor
Yes.
what they actually feel and want.
Yes. So yeah, I really love what April said about just, if you feel that hesitation of like, oh, I shouldn't say that, dialing it back and just asking yourselves questions and saying, okay, why don't I feel comfortable saying that? Is it a fear? What else is there? And just the more that we work on ourselves to get strong and confident and trust ourselves, the more that we can feel comfortable communicating with whoever we are communicating with. And communication, I mean, doesn't have to look nasty. Like, if we have something that might be uncomfortable or potentially negative to say, it doesn't have to be nasty if you're grounded through it. And the whole process, it can get messy at times. And that's where you have to step in and, I think, just like we said, give ourselves grace to know that we're all human, we're all developing, we're all growing through whatever the journey is.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with all of that. And I do think that there's a level of understanding that people have to do within themselves of what that comfort level of is, how to approach it for them, what that comfort level is. But I also come back to just basic communication of, we all know that sometimes in communication, brick walls can go up, or what I call the proverbial brick wall. And it's learning how to say things in a way that's going to help keep that down too, in certain circumstances. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that I wrote down in both of your comments is, and I think to some of the people that I work with, and at times it's that loss of connection, which again, we come back to the very beginning. Mm-hmm. And what I often hear from people is it comes in fear of, they feel like they're going to have a loss of connection if they say whatever they honestly think, because their perceived is they won't be with the group, or they'll be outside of the norm. And it's honoring what someone actually thinks and feels. So what are your recommendations for that person who is struggling with that loss of connection, and they feel like, I don't want to say this because it may cause me to lose this person or people that I care about in my life? Hi, Rob. Thanks for joining us. Yay.
Hi, Rob. I have something quick on that.
Yeah, please.
To add on to what I said, sometimes it just takes that, like saying to the other person, there's a question I want to ask you and I'm scared to ask it.
Mm-hmm.
Like just
yes.
literally write what's there for you in that moment. And because that's much less scary. It's just, so, I mean, and maybe it's not for somebody else, but that is authenticity. That's really sharing what's really there. And that is what creates connection. Without it, connection does not exist, because then we're just being our fake pretend selves.
Yeah.
And, not honoring our true awesomeness.
I love it.
So,
yes.
So much is going through my head right now. You have no idea.
Right. Pick a story.
This is good. This is a good time to have stuff running through your head.
Oh yeah,
Right.
sure. If I can articulate it. Yeah, loss of connection's always been a really big one for me. The place I want to go to is what is, I know you guys both know, the basic needs from Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
So for those who may be watching that may not be familiar with it, there's like the certainty, there's uncertainty. So there's like a little bit of a dichotomy in what the needs are. But we need to balance everything. Yeah.
Yes,
so
just say them all.
Certainty, uncertainty, significance, and love and connection. And then the last two are growth and contribution, I believe, right?
Yes.
So the first four are kind of like paired up in these little dichotomies. Like, how can you have certainty and feel like stability while also craving uncertainty and spontaneity? And the truth is we need both. But generally speaking, most of us tend to value certain ones more than others.
Yeah.
And for me, mine are certainty and connection, hands down. And so if I feel either of those things are challenged, that's where my brick walls or guards go up. That's where things, and a lot of this is subconscious, and we have to train ourselves to see it when it's happening, so we can have that conversation with ourselves and or the person we're communicating with and say, this is what I'm feeling right now. This is where this is coming from. And that comes just, I feel like, with a lot of practice and digging and finding yourself. And to your point, Jen, also just like knowing who you are and staying true to your core values, so that you can navigate that within yourself first, so to speak, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. And sometimes it's just icky and it just doesn't feel good at the time. I'll be honest. Like sometimes it's just like, oh, do I have to do this? Do I have to say this right now? I love this person and I don't want to hurt them.
Yes.
But I can tell you that through the years, I can tell you that, and I'm going to use me and Joel, for example, in my marriage. And I hurt him more through the years by not saying things. Yeah. And I hurt me by not saying things. And then when it started catching up, it was like, frick, there's a lot of yucky years here because there's things left unsaid that we had to work through because the communication was off. And now that we're to the point that we can openly communicate our feelings and our thoughts, and even if it comes out messy, we kind of nudge each other to make sure it doesn't slow down. It's in such a, we have the most healthiest marriage that we've ever had. And that's what more people should have in all of their communication. But again, it took us a lot of messiness, uncomfortable, like yucky, ugh.
And not ignoring the icky.
And not ignoring it. And some yelling, screaming at times as we were working to navigate who each other was, because we went for so long putting on a face of just not dealing with the honest communication.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so importance of that. So importance of that connection piece in relationships. Any other final thoughts on that piece that we haven't already mentioned? Kate, thank you for that. Yes.
Hey, Kate. I would just say last words is it's pretty freaking important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Without that, I feel like it's especially for those that need a bit more external support and that sense of community. it's instrumental in our growth.
You just hit it on the head for me, Christy, because I can tell you that connection for me has created, remember I said early on, like so much of my connection was surface. And once you get through the surface and you actually connect with people on a deeper level, that connection is there differently for me. And I can't describe it. I can't put words to it in this moment, but it's that feeling of safety and security and love and truth and support in a way that's just different when you're not authentic in what you're saying.
Yeah.
Or saying half things, not really going deep when you know that there's more there to be said, from my perspective.
Yeah. April?
I have a different idea in my head, off topic, not related to what you're talking about.
Yeah, give it to us. We love it.
And it kind of is. I guess it is. So I've been really having a lot of fun because I neglected my face and my hair and everything for a long time. And so I'm really having fun with it. And this has everything to do with connection, because it's connection to self. I know, like for myself, I spend so much time being responsible for other people that I forget about myself. And so that really comes first. We can't deal with other people if we don't set up some sort of something where we're just taking care of ourselves every day. And so I've been having really fun with washing my face and stuff. And I make a game out of it. Like, I just love myself. It's just like I'm doing a little dance with myself and just like, I'm just saying, I love you. I love you. I love you. And I'm like rubbing my face in fun and exciting ways. And, I'm imagining like all the miracles that are happening in my face as I'm doing it, and it just makes it exciting. And I'm loving myself. So and you girls know, like, I beat my head against the wall trying to jump from A to Z. And I'm like, no, I just need to do these little things. It's just the little things. That one question you're afraid to ask opens up, boom, a whole new world. When you make that conscious effort to say, I'm going to ask this question next time, no matter what. And boom, it's this whole new world. You wash your face and it's like, I literally get into a whole new world. And we can do that with anything. We can do that with dishes. We can do it cutting stuff up. I should send y'all a picture. My son had a picture of watermelon. He literally invented this whole thing. He had all kinds of different shapes of the watermelon. Because I thought, like, what are you going to create? And then, I just share this too because it's fun.
Yes.
But yeah, like every time he eats something now or eats something that like I don't really want him to have a lot of, I make a game out of it. And I say, okay, so for every chip you're eating, like what are you creating with this chip? And he's like, power. I'm like, what are you gonna do with that power? And he's like, I'm gonna whatever he says, in that moment. And it's simple when we slow down and connect with ourselves and what's there, what we have in our life, who are in our lives, and ourselves in the mirror, getting present to just the gift that we are to the world. Okay, I'm done.
That was beautiful. Thank you.
Was beautiful. April, how has that impacted you? Like, give some perspective to anyone watching of how it impacts just being present to yourself, because I agree with you.
You can't get a hold of anything. I was on fast forward. It was just like I was constantly reaching for the next thing. And it's a never ending reach unless you slow down, because when you're reaching, you're just skipping over. You're just skipping over all the important stuff. You're skipping over the things that are going to make a difference, that are going to have you be free. You can't not be present to your life and transform. You have to be present to what's there.
I love that. Thank you, April.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Christy, do you have anything to add?
No, that was perfect.
Agreed.
Thanks, Catherine.
Okay, so before I move on to the next topic that I want to make sure we have time to connect about, especially with the two of you, anything else with the importance of connection or community, final tips for our viewers on those topics?
We've said this before. The only thing I'm just going to say it one more time is the importance of who we choose to be in our tight community.
Mm.
We have to, I feel like it's just of vital importance to surround ourselves with people who are positive and uplifting, and that are going to challenge us to be the best version of ourselves. Because if we don't do that, the alternative is not growing and staying in that ick, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to be complete, but man, you just, so yeah, I mean, perfect example. We were in this mastermind and I kept showing up, but you know, I lost my thought, not getting anywhere. It totally flew away. It's okay. If it comes back, if it flies back, it flies back.
Just
but I know it's way over there. I can feel it. So
just bring it back.
It'll come back. It'll come back. And trust me, it'll come back.
Okay, cool. When it does, just interrupt. All right. Okay. So April, we know that you are a cuddle coach, therapist, however you choose to define. And Dr. Christie, I'm certain that you have some real depth on the importance of human touch and human interaction. I love both of your perspectives on the importance for our viewers of connecting on the physical level and hugging level and cuddling level, and not just from a health perspective, but yeah, I mean, it is all health. So yeah, thoughts on importance of human touch, human connection that way.
Like, I have something. I don't want to take your opportunity though. So
you can go first, April. It's fine.
Okay. Yeah, that's what cleared away my shame. You know, a space. You know, it's not often that we get a space that's non-judgmental, where the other person's not trying to be right, or the other person is, or ourselves. I mean, it's not. You know, I do it too. It's just not. We don't have that space, and if we're not in a safe space, then we're not going to have that impact. Like I could be in a cuddle. There's been cuddles where I haven't felt safe, and not like background subconscious fear, not like actually something was going to happen. Yeah. But in that moment, I've told clients, like, you basically, if I'm afraid and you're trying to push boundaries, then am I off topic? Did I get off topic?
Keep going.
Okay. That like you're cutting it off, like you're cutting off the love that I can give you. So don't cross boundaries. You know, it took me a while to be firm. It took me a while to get there, right? Whoever asked about how many cuddles it took a lot of letting people cross boundaries to get to the point where I'm like, no, I'm taking their opportunity away to have self-control. That's what's happening, you know? And of course I think I'm way off topic. What was the question?
So importance of human connection as it relates to physical touch, and the importance of that for people from a health perspective, mental health, all areas of life, really.
All right. I brought it in a different direction, and I'm just going to leave it there.
You're fine.
When I hear from Christy, and I'm sure something else will pop in my
April, there's no wrong answers on the show, just so you know, like everything brings nuggets of knowledge. So it's always good.
Yes, what she said. I don't know where you are. So aside from that,
it's so weird. It's backwards, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't figure it out. I'm not gonna do that again.
I was touching my hair before we got on, and I was like, "This is so weird." You know. Okay, go ahead.
April, I agree. I love everything that you had said there, and from my perspective, in like the doctor-patient kind of relationship, there's so when I interact with my patients, I do a lot of communicating with them first to find out what their primary complaint is, for instance, what their goals are for their health. And so there's a lot of connection that just takes place verbally speaking before we even get to a physical session. But my work isn't complete until that happens. And there's an energy exchange that takes place that, as I've gotten more into energy work, it's just the most beautiful thing that I feel like I do. When I touch another human being, there's an energy exchange. They feel something, their body can relax, cellular function can normalize, their nervous system normalizes, they feel safe. things that would not have cleared otherwise can then therefore be cleared. Especially, I've said this before on different shows, but like we can make connections between things that they're feeling logically and tangibly speaking, and connect it back to how their body's processing it and clear it at a deeper level. So to me, and still going back to love languages, people receive things in all different ways, especially for those people who have touch as a primary love language. And for everyone, it's very powerful. And I feel like it's just really impactful and important to connect with people in that way, as long as there's a safety, and people are comfortable, of course.
Yeah, I think even just basic hugs. I mean, I don't know the statistic, but there's a statistic about even for babies that if they don't have so much cuddling or hugs in a certain amount of time, that it can actually harm their development at a very childhood age. And there are certain, again, I'm not a doctor, I don't play one on TV. But I know that there are chemicals that when we get hugged, they're actually released. I don't think it's dopamine but it's something, Dr. Christy. Thank you.
Oxytocin. So
thank you.
Can I share something super fast?
Please.
In just what you were saying, I don't do this often enough as it is anymore, but I used to make my kids give me a hug. Not if they said no, I wouldn't respect that, of course, but I would tell them I would like a hug and it needs to last for 20 seconds because a 20-second hug allows for the maximum release of oxytocin to take place in your body. And so it allows for deeper connection and the feel-good chemicals throughout your body. So I haven't done one in a while. Actually, that's not true. Evan gave me a 3-minute hug the other day and it was awesome.
Nice. So let's stay on that though. When I think about hugs or connection or cuddles or any of that, it releases the healthy chemicals that I would assert then impact overall health, mental health, probably physical health in all forms of the imagination, and also just connection and whole with one-on-one with people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm curious about energetically? Like I'm thinking about my daughter, right? Because I'm thinking about when she used to hug me, it was like a brick wall. And now she hugs me. And I thought when she's hugging me, like if she's clearly closed off, right? Like so closed off. And like, I don't think she's getting any of it. Like, how does that work? If you're not willing to receive it, you're not going to get it. Right.
Yeah.
That's a good question, actually.
It's a really good question. Because you can easily shut down that physiology, I think, with your mental and emotional state. I would nearly guarantee it.
Do you think you can shut down the actual oxytocin?
I do. Because
if you don't think you deserve it, then you're going to not allow it.
Yeah, if you don't think you deserve it, or if you don't feel a connection or the desire to be connected with the person that you're hugging, you're going to close down, and I guarantee it won't be released.
Interesting.
I don't have a medical statistic on that, but that's just my gut.
Interesting. Okay. So anything else on importance, cuddling, hugs, connection that we can share? Of course, hug more people you love.
And can I share something silly?
Please.
When I was saying that how I torture my kids so by asking them to give me these 20-second hugs, they'll say, okay, fine, Mom, I'll give you a 20-second hug. So I start hugging them and I start counting. I start going 1, 1.5, 2, and they get really annoyed with me, but I love it and it's awesome and it's kind of my game. And
I love it.
And I won't stop that because it's too fun.
That's cute.
Any other final thoughts on that topic?
I think I'm complete on that topic.
Okay.
And thank you for sharing, Christy.
Agreed. All right. So any other thoughts, ladies? We have 10 minutes. Any other thoughts on the emotional aspects of community, connection, cuddling, hugs that we can share with our viewers that could benefit their moving forward? And we can think connections with work, with home relationships, with friends, however you choose to take it.
Ask yourself the question, if there's a difficulty in being open, ask yourself the question, I'm trying to frame it in an empowering way. What can help us be more open? How did not being open in the past serve us, and how can we move forward past that now?
That's really good. April?
My nothing's coming to my mind, guys, which is shocking.
I think that coming back to everything that we've already talked about, and I think it was mentioned in a couple different ways, but on every level of people that we interact with, just asking what is the best form of connection to them.
Yeah.
And what do they find to be the most important, and what makes them feel loved and cared about and thought about, and what makes them feel heard and received. And in knowing that, then we can reciprocate and give them what they need at their level, and inadvertently being as open about what we need on all of those same perspectives.
That's what I was going to say. Like, do yourself first.
Yeah. I got that.
Do yourself first.
Yes.
Don't try to do other people before you do yourself. It doesn't work out so well. Right. Well, no, in that case, that's a good thing. But, you know, when you learn something, you want to just go teach what I do. It doesn't work out so well.
But I think we can do it at work. We can do that. Especially even with our kids, you know. I even look at the dynamic of me and Bo now versus me and Bo when he was 10 years old. And it's beautiful. I mean, it was beautiful then. Of course, I made a ton of mistakes, but we all do. But just in the knowledge of moving forward, it's increased the depth of who we are with each other and in such cool ways. So cool. Final thoughts, ladies. Oh, I'm going to say one more thing because it's here, and I know with our community, and I want to make sure anyone's watching who is impacted by it knows. Just know other people's opinions, thoughts, whatever, are always only theirs to own, and you don't have to own them ever. And in communication, sometimes things come in certain ways, and that has nothing to do with us. And whether that be social media related, whether that be that someone at work or otherwise is having a bad day, kids are having a bad day, spouse is having a bad day, whatever. I think if we can often, although I know it's hard because these are people we care about, if we can take that step back and say, this has nothing to do with me, not only does it allow us to come at it from a different perspective, but it also allows it to not own it in who we are. And I can say, as someone who owned things who were never mine to own, releasing myself of owning other people's thoughts, feelings, or opinions was one of the most healing things I could have ever done for myself. So that's my final thought.
I want to add something to that, you know, and we're not responsible for those people and their actions. You know, we're not responsible when people get mad to tell them that they shouldn't get mad. You know, they're responsible for their own feelings. And what I've found is the more we tell people that are angry that they need to be responsible, the more they deny responsibility because the fear stops them from expressing it. And I thought about your kiddos, Christy, when I said that.
Yeah, we'll take that off the live.
All right, ladies, this was amazing. Thank you again for another amazing conversation. Thanks for everyone who joined us. And we love you, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
I'm going to hang this up.